The meeting was a circus, and Karen was the ringmaster nobody wanted. Her shrill voice cut through the community hall like a chainsaw, demanding silence while she waved a petition to ban therapy dogs because, apparently, their paws dirted the sidewalks. It was absurd, but not unexpected. Karen, self-appointed queen of the Pinewood Estates Homeowners Association, had a knack for turning molehills into mountains. She'd once fined a family for planting tulips that were too red. But this? This was war. Therapy dogs weren't just pets, they were lifelines for veterans, kids with autism, and elderly folks battling loneliness. The room, packed with neighbors, buzzed with outrage. Karen, perched at the head of the table, didn't flinch. She adjusted her glasses, her lips curling into a smug smile, as if she'd already won. The trouble started 3 months ago when Karen moved into Pinewood. She wasn't elected to the HOA board, bullied her way in, claiming the previous president lacked vision. Her vision, it turned out, was control. She rewrote bylaws overnight, slapped fines on anyone who dared park a pickup truck in their own driveway, and declared war on anything that didn't fit her sterile idea of a perfect neighborhood. The therapy dog ban was her latest crusade. She claimed their fur triggered her allergies and their presence lowered property values. Evidence? None. But Karen didn't need facts when she had volume. Across the room, Emily, a single mom with a 7-year-old son, gripped her chair. Her son, Liam, sat beside her, stroking the fur of their golden retriever. Max was Liam's anchor. Diagnosed with severe anxiety, Liam barely spoke until Max came into their lives. Now, Karen wanted Max gone. Emily's eyes burned with tears, but her jaw was set. She wasn't alone. Next to her sat Tom, a retired veteran whose service dog, Rusty, had pulled him back from the edge of despair after Afghanistan. Then there was Mrs. Carter, 82, whose poodle, Daisy, was her only companion since her husband passed. The room was a tapestry of stories, each thread tied to a dog Karen deemed a nuisance. Karen's petition wasn't just a rule, it was a betrayal. Pinewood had always been a haven for its residents, a place where people looked out for each other. The HOA was meant to protect that spirit, not choke it. But Karen had hijacked the board, stacking it with her allies, Greg, a spineless accountant who nodded at her every word, and Linda, a realtor who saw dollar signs in Karen's vision of a pristine neighborhood. They'd pushed the ban through in a closed meeting, bypassing community input. When the news broke, flyers appeared on every doorstep, no therapy dogs allowed. Effective immediately. The backlash was swift. Emily, Tom, and Mrs. Carter organized a resistance. They knocked on doors, shared stories, and rallied neighbors. By the night of the meeting, the hall was standing room only. Karen hadn't expected this. She'd underestimated the quiet strength of a community bound by love, not rules. As she read the petition aloud, her voice dripped with false concern. "We're protecting our neighborhood's value," she said. "These animals are a liability. What if they bite? What if someone's allergic?" Tom stood up, his voice steady but sharp. "Rusty's been with me through nightmares you can't imagine. You're telling me my dog's a liability?" The room erupted in cheers. Karen's face reddened. She slammed her gavel, demanding order, but the crowd wasn't hers to control. Emily rose next, holding Liam's hand. "Max is my son's voice," she said, her voice breaking. "You want to silence him?" Mrs. Carter, frail but fierce, added, "Daisy's all I have. You take her, you take my heart." The room roared again, a wave of defiance crashing over Karen's smugness. But Karen wasn't done. She doubled down, revealing her trump card, a forged letter from a concerned resident, claiming a therapy dog had attacked their child. The lie was blatant. Nobody in Pinewood had reported such an incident. Whispers turned to shouts. Who wrote it? Someone yelled. Karen's eyes darted to Greg, who shrank in his seat. The crowd smelled blood. Emily, trembling with rage, stepped forward. You faked it, didn't you? You faked the letter to scare us. The accusation hung in the air. Karen's smile faltered, but she recovered quickly. I don't need to justify myself to you, she snapped. The board has spoken. That was her mistake. The word board ignited the room. Neighbors who'd never spoken up before, quiet gardeners, busy parents, retirees, stood as one. A chant began, recall the board. Recall the board. Karen's gavel was useless now. The meeting spiraled into chaos, but it was a beautiful chaos, born of unity. Over the next week, the rebellion grew. Emily and Tom led a petition for a recall vote, gathering signatures faster than Karen could issue fines. They uncovered more of her lies. The closed meeting violated HOA bylaws, and Karen had no authority to enact the ban. Greg cracked under pressure, admitting the letter was Karen's idea. Linda, sensing the tide turning, jumped ship, claiming she'd been misled. Karen stood alone, her empire crumbling. The recall vote was unanimous. Karen, Greg, and the remnants of their board were ousted. A new board was elected, Emily, Tom, and Mrs. Carter among them. The therapy dog ban was scrapped, and Pinewood celebrated with a community dog walk, Max, Rusty, and Daisy leading the pack. But the victory was bittersweet. Karen didn't leave quietly. She sold her house and moved, but not before sending a final email to the neighborhood, accusing them of destroying her vision. Nobody responded. They were too busy healing. The real cost wasn't the fight, it was the trust Karen had shattered. Neighbors who'd once waved across fences now looked at each other with a mix of pride and wariness. They'd won, but at what price? The dogs were safe, but the scars of division lingered. Emily watched Liam play with Max, grateful but haunted. Tom walked Rusty with a lighter heart, yet he couldn't forget the faces of those who'd sided with Karen, however briefly. Mrs. Carter held Daisy a little tighter, knowing how close she'd come to losing her. Pinewood would rebuild, but it would take time. The dogs, wagging their tails, were a reminder of what mattered: connection, not control. The community had fought for its soul and won, but the bitter aftertaste of Karen's crusade remained. They'd faced a fake HOA, a fake letter, and a fake vision of perfection, and they'd chosen something real instead. What would you have done in Pinewood's place? Stand up or stay silent? How do you weigh personal freedom against community rules?